Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is calling anti-Semitism a disease that's throughout the world, including on U.S. campuses, and something Congress is trying to fight. The U.S. is also physically fighting the Iranian-backed Houthis in Yemen as they continue to launch missiles at Israel. Here's the latest. Israelis ran for cover once again as the Houthis in Yemen launched 2 more missiles at Israel in the middle of the day on Thursday. Interceptors shot both of them down. The U.S. has been hitting the Houthis with air and missile strikes for 2 weeks now in an attempt to halt their attacks on Israel and global shipping passing through the Red Sea. President Trump says the Houthi attacks have killed many and disrupted international shipping, but the U.S. offensive is making an impact.
The attacks have been very successful, even beyond our wildest expectations. We've hit them very hard, very successfully, and we're going to do it for a long time.
The administration reportedly has sent another ceasefire proposal to Hamas, seeking the release of American hostage Edan Alexander and a breakthrough in ceasefire negotiations. But so far, no reply from the terror group. Meanwhile, the IDF is striking targets in southern Lebanon after 2 rockets were launched at Israel this morning. In Jerusalem, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu thanked those who came to an international anti-Semitism conference to stand against what he called barbarism.
I say barbarism because anti-Semitism is a disease carried by barbarians that threaten all civilized societies. These anti-Semites wish to destroy not only the Jewish state, they seek to destroy the forces of modernity in the Arab and Muslim world. They seek to drag it back to a primitive and violent medievalism.
Netanyahu warned the fires of anti-Semitism are spreading across the Western world.
They rage in Europe's capitals, in the Western press, in social media. They rage in America's elite universities.
A Turkish student at Massachusetts elite Tufts University has been arrested by ICE agents for alleged pro-Hamas activities. Secretary of State Marco Rubio explained why Rumeysa Öztürk's visa has been yanked, and others would be as well.
We gave you a visa to come and study and get a degree, not to become a social activist that tears up our university campuses. And if we've given you a visa and then you decide to do that, we're going to take it away. I encourage every country to do that.
With the 500% spike in anti-Semitic incidents on American campuses, Congress is stepping in to help fight it.
Universities have been put on notice. Failing to protect a student's civil rights will no longer be tolerated. If universities refuse to follow the law, to address discrimination on campuses, and to support Jewish students, then they should not expect the support of the federal taxpayer.
Senator Cassidy also announced a probe into the activities of the group American Muslims for Palestine on college campuses, claiming its leaders have ties to Hamas. This week has seen unprecedented protests in Gaza against Hamas. The gatherings are extraordinary because of the 18-year silencing of all free speech in the Gaza Strip. Ever since Hamas took control in 2007, any discontent or opposition has been squelched by threat of bodily harm or even death until now. Paul Strand brings us the story.
In an unprecedented show of discontent, hundreds in the Hamas-controlled Gaza Strip protested Hamas rule this week, carrying white flags and calling for the handover of the October 7th hostages. As one cameraman filming the event said, "We're sending a message to the entire world. We reject the rule of Hamas." For these Gazans, Hamas rule has meant unending war.
Hamas can't help but use it as a weapon to harm civilians. It's a criminal move that divided the Palestinian people and brought us wars and woes for more than 18 years.
The Arab countries won't provide a solution for us. If they were going to help us, they would have helped us from the beginning. Arab countries since 2014 have been trying to build Gaza, but that external aid hasn't done anything except build those Qatari towers.
Unending war should come as no surprise. The late Hamas leader, Ismail Haniyeh, articulated the terror organization's goals, which are also spelled out in the Hamas charter.
We say today explicitly that the armed resistance and the armed struggle are the path and the strategic choice for the liberation of the Palestinian land from the river to the sea.
Armed resistance has meant using the Gazans as human shields. The late Hamas leader, Yahya Sinwar, wrote that the Palestinian death toll would infuse life into the veins of this nation, prompting it to rise to its glory and honor. In another message to Hamas leaders in Qatar, Sinwar maintained that thousands of civilian casualties are necessary sacrifices. Hamas's strategy also meant building terrorist infrastructures in densely populated areas, such as schools, hospitals, and mosques, while the terrorists hid in tunnels.
Many people are asking, since you've built 500 kilometers of tunnels, why haven't you built bomb shelters where civilians can hide during the bombardments?
These tunnels are meant to protect us from the airplanes. We are fighting from inside the tunnels. Everybody knows that 75% of the people in the Gaza Strip are refugees, and it is the responsibility of the United Nations to protect them.
With much of Gaza in rubble, the challenge looming is how Gazans will rebuild their lives. President Trump floated a plan to relocate the Arab residents to Jordan, Egypt, or other nations. Supporters of the plan called it thinking out of the box. Opponents of Trump's plan call it ethnic cleansing. Egypt has come up with an alternate plan that leaves the civilians in Gaza, which the Arab League has approved. But what are the Gazans saying?
So for God's sake, we demand the borders be opened, because we've had enough. We don't have a livelihood, no work, no life. I've finished high school and I'm educated. It's the best solution.
Sooner or later, the borders will open, God willing, with no place closed off, and we'll have the opportunity to go abroad, because people want to leave the Strip and get on with their lives in another geographical area where they can work.
Look at this view. What we live all day. We break and work. What do we need? I want to travel. Gaza. I don't want it.
We, the Palestinian people in Gaza, are all awaiting resettlement, but we don't know how, when, or where to. Hamas is willing to sacrifice half or three-quarters of the Gaza Strip's population in order to stay in power. They've been saying for decades, we will only hand over Gaza as rubble, or on Judgment Day.
We don't want to live in Gaza. Nothing remains in Gaza, just a big shame. Now we travel in donkeys and horses. There's no gasoline, no water, no electricity, no money, no work, no fruit. There's nothing. Open the border for us. Let us out.
President Trump has said that relocating civilians would break the cycle of rebuilding and facilitating another war with Hamas. Paul Strand, CBN News, Jerusalem.